Welcome to the Hardcore Closer Podcast. I'm Ryan Stewman, founder of HardcoreCloser.com, and this podcast is all about helping you, the salesperson, close more sales. And look, whether you're selling cars, homes, financial services, consulting, whatever it is that you sell, this podcast is dedicated to help you generate higher quality leads, increase your closing ratios, and show you how to charge premium fees for the items you sell so you can get paid what you're worth. Welcome to episode number 78 of the THC podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Stewman, and I am glad you're here. Listen, if this is your first time, there is at least 77 other episodes that you can check out, so make sure that you go and listen to them. I've created them. I've taken the time to help pour some of my wisdom and experience into you. You can take the time to listen to them if this is your thing. We're excited you're here. Also, new people, old people alike, whether you've been around for 78 episodes and this is your first one, I'm going to ask you every single time, because that's what a closer does. They're consistent. I'm going to ask you every single time to go over to iTunes and leave me a review. Here's the thing. I'm trying to reach 300 million people and pour my wisdom and experience into their life, and I need your help. I cannot do that alone. In reviews, when people leave a review on a place like iTunes or YouTube or Yelp or Google or wherever the case the review might be, what happens is that carries as much weight as a personal recommendation. Think about it. When you go to Google and you search something, or if you go to Amazon, you search something and you read the reviews, what happens? Like, you make a decision based on other people's experience, whether you want to buy that product. Same thing. It's like when you go and you leave your experience with this podcast on iTunes or YouTube or SoundCloud or wherever the case you might be listening to it, what happens is other people get to make sure that you have the experience that they want and listen to the show. And I just appreciate that, because I need to reach a lot of people. It's like I got a passion. We're going to talk today about unlocking your true purpose in life, and passion has a lot to do with that. But I have a passion to help people. I have a passion to share these experiences, the experiences myself, clients, people that I know, famous people, all this good stuff, so that I can help you out. What you choose to do with it is your own thing. But here's the thing. I have this passion for it, and I'd just like for you to give me a little hand and pour some fire on this flame, right? Here is a 5-star review from Cactus CJE. Some people got some weird names, but I realized that when we were setting up our Apple account back in the 90s, we weren't really thinking into the future about how weird our names might be. Because when you're a kid, the way that you think is a lot different than when you're an adult, right? So it looks like Cactus CJE. So it says, holds nothing back, 5 stars. I stumbled across the Hardcore Closer podcast last week, and I've listened to the last 2 episodes so far. There's no BS, no fluff, no excuses, just in-your-face knowledge and ideas to sell more and more and more. I love it. Robert Edgen, full-service insurance and financial planning for people tired of losing money and not reaching their goals, located in Colorado Springs, Colorado. You see now, Robert, that's how you make shit happen. You leave your name, you tell people what you do and where you're located. Good for you, man. Good for you. I never know. I just read these things live on the air. None of this shit's pre-light read or whatever. So, like, good for you, Robert. Way to fucking leverage the airways here, man. I can tell me and you, we're going to get along, sir. Before we jump into this week's episode, though, let's talk a little business. Where are you investing your money? You know, as salespeople, we tend to make a lot of stupid ass financial decisions. You know, I worked at a car wash in sales, but it was a pretty steady income. I mean, I had to hustle every week just to make, $400 or $500. And we're talking working 60, 70 hours to be able to achieve that. And when I jumped into the mortgage business, because I was recruited into it, when I was recruited into the mortgage business, what happened though, was I started making money like I had never made before. I mean, if you think about it, I started making money. I went from making, $2,100 a month to $21,000 in my first 2 months in the business. And, back then it was subprime mortgages and everybody was a candidate. So it's a different ball game than you can get. And I know a lot of people are like, dude, can you still do that? And absolutely you can. One of my clients and friend, Shane Kidwell, who will be here this Friday, actually in our office, he's been in the business only 3 years and he did, I think, 86 million last year. So it's absolutely still possible, but it's just not the same. I'm sure, I know for a fact that Shane's working 20 times harder than everybody else because he's got stuff going for him in the right direction. But back to the story here, I jumped into the mortgage business and all of a sudden I'm making 10 grand a month, 20 grand in 2 months and so on and so forth. And I start blowing money like, fucking Rick James, Dave Chappelle's Rick James character, right? I'm just like out of control, got this big ego, making all this money, doing all these things. And, you know, if you've read my book, Hardcore Closer, which if you haven't, you definitely need to read that. There is no sales value there whatsoever. It's full of life lessons. And you kind of understand why they call me the Hardcore Closer because of that book. But if you've read that book, then you know in 2005, the local police raided my house, thought I was selling drugs because we were doing so well. And I once read I listened to, if you could find this on the internet, that would be awesome. But it was an interview from a dude named Vincent James. Russell Brunson was interviewing him. And Vincent James had made $105 million in 2005. And the local sheriffs raided him just like they did me. And they took his money, seized his assets and all this stuff because they didn't understand his internet business. And they ended up tying it up for 20 years in court. And he ended up losing it all through forfeiture because he couldn't afford to fight him anymore. It's a crazy story, right? And so, or not 20 years, I'm sorry, 10 years. And it's a crazy story. So anyway, the same thing happened to me, right? They raided me. They froze my assets. They did all these like evil things to me. And all of a sudden, this like endless supply of money I thought I had as a salesperson was gone. Well, then when I was sentenced to actually go to federal prison, what happened was my ex-wife, who's now an ex-wife, she was a wife, then she took all my money. I had to learn to live on a budget. And I thought, man, I wish I had invested my money better. I wish I had paid better attention to my money. And it's funny because when money is one of those things that while we have it and when it's continuously coming, we don't really think much of it. But man, when you don't have any of it and you're having to scrape up quarters to eat your meals and you're having to freaking, hustle shit that you normally wouldn't hustle, you know what I mean, to be able to make ends meet. We've all been there, and I know everybody listening to this podcast has been there. And that's tough, man, when money's not around. And so what happens, though, is we always tend to think, because salespeople, we're what's called exuberant, irrationally exuberant, meaning that we're optimistic people, so we believe the best. Well, while that's a good state of mind, when it comes to money, believing the best is not the strategy to long-term wins. And I knew that money could go as fast as it's come. Even for you religious folks, in the book of Proverbs, it says, money gathered quickly spreads wings and flies away twice as fast. And I've always taken that to heart, even though I'm not a Christian or a Bible thumper or a Bible reader or anything like that. I've always thought the book of Proverbs had a lot of wisdom in it. And that being a part of it. We watch a lot of people in my day sell drugs and make a lot of fast money, and the FBI take it all from them. We watch a lot of people in the banking industry make a lot of money and the federal government step up and take it all from them. We've seen these things happen over and over and over again. And all the time, the people, when they get in these rough situations, what do they say? Athletes. When it's all said and done for an athlete. And you see an athlete 6 years after he was a running back, superstar running back, had 3 seasons with the greatest team, Super Bowl champion, broke his leg, out for the season, never could quite play again, got passed around in the draft, 6 years later, broke his shit. And you say, hey, what decisions do you wish you'd done better, made better? Say, I wish I'd invested my money instead of blowing it on Lamborghinis, gold chains, and diamond earrings. Salespeople, we're no different. We think we're that athlete. We think that we're going to get superstar money all of our lives. And man, our industry is cyclical. Sometimes the mortgage industry is up. Sometimes the real estate industry is up. Sometimes the solar energy is up. Sometimes insurance is up. Sometimes that shit's down. And man, when it's down, it hurts twice as bad. Like it hurts twice as bad as it feels good when it's up. Because like I said, when you got money, you don't think nothing of it. I'll just pay for this. When you don't have money, that's all you can think about. At least I know that's true for me. What if I told you, though, I had a way for you to be able to make an investment today? Y'all had to know this was coming. For you to make an investment today that could not only secure, you got to do the work, but it could not only secure income for the foreseeable future, it would also help you grow as a person. It would also help stimulate your mind. What if I could offer that opportunity for you? And what if it wasn't a very big investment? Like, what if it was something that was less than your car payment? And you could just invest that small amount of money every single month and educate yourself and take action with that information. And not only change the course of your future, but create residual incomes, create long-time connections, create a network that is unstoppable. What if that was a possibility for you? Would you be interested in investing in yourself in that manner? Or are you going to keep risking it? It's like gambling, you know, you go and you sit at the poker table and you play for a while and you win $1 million. And you take that $1 million and you double down, you end up losing it all. The house always wins, you know, and this world's designed to keep you average. But I've got a way for you to escape average, but you're going to have to invest in yourself. You know, just 2 days ago, I brought some stuff from home. I moved my desk, like my furniture type stuff from my home office into my new office. So I was moving my stuff from my office desk at home into the new office desk here, right? Damn, that's confusing. Hope you're with me on that. And I found this old like CD case. For those of you that don't remember, the like CD case with like 4 on each page. Low Energy Robert, you remember that shit? You got the big CD holder. It's got like 4 on one side and then 4 on the other, and you just slide the disc in there, right? Like the cool people, they would have like the organized motherfuckers would have like covers and shit in there too, but like I wasn't like that. I would just have the disc in there. You know what I'm talking about, man?
Yeah. People would have like the big books and stuff, and you'd flip through there and find your disc. Yeah,
Yep.
people would put the cover behind it and shit like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it, man. Well, so I found one of those yesterday or 2 days ago and brought it up to the office and gave it to Pat to burn for us. And this thing was CDs from 2005, 6, and 2005 and 2006. It was a Tony Robbins course in there. Was a what's that fancy dude's name? That's a Dave Ramsey course. There was a Russ Whitney, a Bruce Berman, a bunch of Keith Craft sermons, some John Maxwell stuff, some Jim Cramer stuff. I've been making investments in myself for well over 12 years now. And really, I've only been in like a profession. I came in 2003, I was washing cars. So really 14 years ago, I was still washing cars, but I know that I had a set of Zig Ziglar cassettes from when I washed cars. I've always believed in investing in myself because I know that the stock market can crash, real estate can lose money, but if I make an investment in myself and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get an ROI, which means action on that investment, I'm going to do it. And so I'm going to offer you to make an investment in yourself today. You can go to breakfreeacademy.com/entourage. You get mentored by me. You get assisted by our team. You'll get tons of information, things that you can apply. As new products come on board, you'll get exclusive discounts. And if you'll join today while you're listening to this in the month of August, I'll give you a free ticket to come to our live event in Dallas, Texas. Around 300 to 500 people will be there. Right now, I think we sold 250 tickets, and we've only had them on sale for 3 weeks. But if you'll join breakfreeacademy.com/entourage today, this month, August, like you got to get on it because Robert's probably only going to publish this with 2 or 3 days to burn on this. If you'll go over there, I'll give you a free ticket to the Break Free Academy reunion, October 26th and 27th in Dallas, Texas, featuring me, Kat Laterzo, Marshall Silver, Mark Jennison, Alan Dickey, and Matt Motil, and many, many more. Head over to breakfreeacademy.com/entourage. So I didn't mean to take that long on my intro here, but let's just jump into the episode. You know, I talked to you earlier about being in federal prison, and I mention it a lot because it's obviously something that weighs significantly on my mind. And just being real, you know. And right before my house was raided by the local police, they thought I was selling drugs. I obviously wasn't, but right before my house was raided by those fellers, they maybe a week or two before, I had just finished reading this book called The Law of Success by Napoleon Hill. And, you know, I know that's cliche because a lot of people know that book. A lot of people have read, you know, Think and Grow Rich and all this other stuff. And I get it. But that book, literally, it transformed the way that I think. And, and I know that book's done that for millions, probably hundreds of millions of people at this point. But I remember jumping on the coffee table at my house and telling my then wife that I was going to be this like transformational person, that I was going to change the world and all these things, that I had finally found my purpose in life. And, shortly after that, that would be derailed. And my house would get raided, and I would have to go through a second term in prison and all that stuff. And when I was in prison, though, I didn't really lose sight of that. I spent the majority of my time reading books and focusing on how I could be a better person, and focus on how I could use these negative experiences and for positive impacts in people's lives. But when I got out of prison, I went back to work in the mortgage business. And while I enjoyed making money and helping people get their houses and the camaraderie of a corporate environment and all that good stuff, that was all great. But here's what I did know, that I wasn't living my purpose. My purpose on this planet was never to become a banker. But banking money was comfortable for me, and being a banker was a comfortable situation. It was a good income. It was a comfortable living. It wasn't too bad of a stretch. But it also wasn't my calling. And my calling was to help people, but I didn't know what to do to help people. And so I would ignore that voice in the back of my head. The one that's telling you what your calling is too, right? Sometimes you're a musician. Sometimes you're a preacher. Sometimes you're a politician. The problem is the call's always there. The phone's always ringing in your head. It's just very few of us actually answer the call. True statistic, 93% of all calls go unanswered, including the one that your subconscious is making to your conscious. Think about that for a minute. And so you know what it is, your purpose here. Maybe it's, you're good at guitar. Maybe you're really funny comedian. Maybe you should have been an actor. Maybe you should start your own business. Maybe you should be drawing up plans for buildings. Maybe you should be an interior decorator. The problem is most of us are not answering that call. And we're not answering the call. We just took a call, and that's what we feel we've been called to do. We're bankers or real estate agents or insurance agents. There's nothing wrong with those jobs. I was one, right? I work with a lot of them. I'm not knocking those jobs. Some people were called to house the homeless, and some people were called to protect veterans, and that's what they do so well in the mortgage business. That was not my calling. And I know that most people are doing a job that they weren't called to do. And because of that, they're miserable. We drink ourselves to sleep. We do drugs. We have sex with people we would normally not have sex with, just to take the pain away and forget about things. We drunk dial our exes. We lose our self-esteem. We have low self-worth. All these things happen because we know that we've been called to do one thing, whether you want to admit it or not, and you're doing another. And you can try to forget as much as you want, but the brain knows. And the subconscious knows. This motherfucker's ignoring my advice. They say you have a angel that protects you, right? Guardian angel. But that guardian angel is the voice in the back of your head. And until you listen to that voice and heed its call, answer its call, do what it says, not just answer the call. It's one thing to pick up the phone. Hello? It's another to pick up the phone and follow instructions. Like the Matrix movie, Neo, I need you to duck. Right? So I want you to let's do something different today. As you listen to my voice, I want to ask you some questions. And I want you to seriously consider these questions. Don't discredit them. Don't knock the simplicity. Don't think it's hokey. Don't think it's weird. But I'm also going to let some silence roll on the airwaves today. Because listen, if I can help at least one person unlock their true potential and they go on to enjoy true happiness in life and change other people's lives, that's what I'm here to do. So let me ask you a question. What are your vices? You smoke, drink, drugs. You drugging? You doping? Hookers, dudes. What's your vices, man? Now, I'm not talking about, like, vice is just the word to use for it. I'm not passing judgment on you. I got vices too. But I'm asking you what these vices are. Maybe you should write them down. The reason why you should write them down is because oftentimes we tell ourselves that we don't have any problems. But I just asked you something real simple and you thought immediately of smoking, drinking, whoring around, whatever the case may be, right? Maybe you need to write that shit down and come to grips with it. What are your vices? Maybe you need to face them. Actually see that they're real. If you write something down on paper, it becomes real. So what are your vices? And the next question is, if you know they're not good for you, because vices are things that aren't healthy for you, smoking, drinking, unprotected sex with strangers. You got these vices, why? If you know they're bad for you, why do you continue? Why do you continue to let your life be led by them? Why do you continue to do them? If you know smoking cigarettes is bad, why do you continue to smoke cigarettes? And I'm not judging. And I'm not saying that you got to quit smoking cigarettes. It's probably a good idea. But I'm known to occasionally smoke a cigarette too. But we got to come to grips with some things first. If you genuinely love cigarettes, which is weird because they stink like shit, make your breath taste like shit, they serve no purpose. But occasionally when I drink, I smoke. But you got to come to grips with why you smoke, why you drink, why you have your vices. Because the truth is, if you ask yourself why you smoke weed or why you use cocaine or why you drink alcohol every night of the week, it's because you're trying to ignore a voice or numb some pain, right? Some people have physical pain. They have back pain, so they use drugs to escape. I know in The Wolf of Wall Street, that was Jordan Belfort's, at least that's what he blamed it on, right? He had severe back problems, so he did all these drugs and stayed out of his mind all the time, so he didn't have to face that pain. I think it was something else, but that's what it says in the book. But oftentimes, we're doing this to silence and numb some sort of emotional pain. And that emotional pain is caused by not heeding the call. But yet every time you feed the monster, you silence that voice, the voice that's trying to guide you to your destiny, and you silence it with sex, drugs, and rock and roll. You get further lost down that spiral. You wind up working in a fucking cubicle like Ed Norton or whatever his name is from fucking Fight Club. You end up hating yourself and what you've become. In the back of your mind, you know you're one of the greatest guitar players of all time, but here you are punching a fucking keyboard doing data entry. In the back of your mind, you know you're one of the greatest speakers you've ever seen, but here you are making sales calls. In the back of your mind, you know that you should be helping people lose weight and be in better shape and eat better and to go through the discovery mode that you've gone through and the experiences that you've shared. But here you are making sales calls and knocking on doors. And then you wonder why at the end of the day, no matter how much money you have, you go home and you drink yourself numb and you fall asleep high as a motherfucker. Because you're not doing what you're supposed to do. But then you tell your things. I know I'm speaking from experience, guys. You tell yourself things like, well, I'm addicted to the money. If I'm making $300,000 a year in mortgages, how the fuck am I just going to give up on this and start helping people, whatever the fuck that means, right? Talk to me, voice. What the fuck do you want me to do? I've been there. And you're probably not going to get the answer here in a 30-minute, 40-minute podcast. You're going to have to do some serious soul searching. Because here's what I do know, ladies and gentlemen. When you figure out what it is that voice is trying to tell you and you do what it says, man, it's put here for a reason. It knows you better than you know yourself. We use like 30% of our brain. The other 70% knows how the heart works, the lung works, the body, what capacity, what pain threshold, how hungry, how long you can hold your breath, the amount of blood cells in your body, the amount of, like, it knows all that stuff automatically. And you don't think you can dig a little deeper and find that it knows what you should be doing too? And then you'll find out the root of your misery is that it warned you not to marry that person. It warned you not to take that job. And here you go every night. You're married to that person, taking that job. And you can't figure out what the fuck your life ain't right. I've been there. Once I start asking myself, and I got real with myself, Ryan, why are you drinking every night? Ryan, why you smoke weed all the time? Ryan, how come you can't hold your shit together in a marriage? Surely it can't be everybody else's fault, dog. Ryan, why are you doing the things that you're doing? And man, I wasn't smart enough at the time to ask myself these questions and get into this coaching business because it was my calling. I spent almost 6 years of my life trying to get this fucking voice to shut up. I thought I was possessed, man. This thing keeps telling me what to do in the back of my mind, this conscious, this reminder, telling me constantly that I should be doing this. And I'm like, man, shut the fuck up. I'm a fucking banker. Then one day I wasn't a banker anymore. Dodd-Frank got passed. I lost my license, eligibility, couldn't renew my license. And that was it. It expired in March of 2010. And at my brokest, weakest, unemployed, first time in my entire life, didn't know what the fuck I was going to do with my life, I surrendered and listened to the voice. And the voice said, it's your job to help people, Ryan. And here's what you're going to do. You're going to start by calling the one person you know that helps people right now. And that person happened to have $8,000 set of DVDs for me that opened my mind on how to build blogs and started my career as an internet marketer. The second I listened to that voice, life didn't just all of a sudden get easier. But as I was broke, as I was struggling, I felt fulfilled. I know that sounds weird, but I've had a lot of money. I'm fulfilled now, but I've had a lot of money in the past. In 2005, I made 700 grand. I felt insecure, unloved, unfulfilled, unhappy, stressed out, watching over my back. I know. But as soon as I start listening to that voice, the voice would also tell me things like, hey man, the struggle's real, but it goes away with work. Hey man, hard work today and you'll never have to face this pain again. Hey man, if you just do the work today, you won't have to do it tomorrow. It was there guiding me the whole way. You know, at my grandma's house, in her bathroom, you know, back before phones were invented, when you used to take a shit in somebody's bathroom, you had to either read a magazine that was on the back of the toilet or stare at the pictures on the wall. Real talk for you youngsters, right? Like, you know, maybe if you were at your friend's house and his dad was like a single bachelor, there might be a Playboy that you could look at on there, but it was usually Reader's Digest and some bullshit poems on the wall. Because we didn't have smartphones back then. And I remember my grandma on the wall, she had this poem or saying or whatever, and it was called Footprints. And G Unit's got a song, look it up on YouTube. It's called Footprints by G Unit. It's a good song. But it's basically a man walking alongside of, we'll just say Jesus or God or whatever, right? Walking alongside God, and he says, it's his life that he's looking back across through his footsteps in the sand. And he says, look at every one of these hard times you left me, God, because there's only one set of footsteps, and all the good times you were walking beside me. And in the bad times, you let me walk alone. And God looks over and says, those are not your footprints, sir. Those are where I carried you. That voice in the back of your head is trying to carry you through the hard times. But we do hard shit, hard alcohol, hard drugs, hard-headedness. We fight against it. But I'm telling you right now, as a witness, as a person who's gone through, survived, and come out the other side, when you start listening to that voice, you find less trouble. It's the same voice that when you're underwater surfing or in a lake or in a swimming pool, it tells you it's time to come up and get air. That same voice that you listen to on the most essential thing that a human being needs, air. Why wouldn't you listen to it on how to help you survive and what your destiny on this planet is? So I'm going to leave with this. If you want to unlock your true purpose, your true potential, and you want to become unlimited, unstoppable, and relentless in life, shut your mouth, open your ears, and listen to that voice. It's been trying to tell you for years. And the cool thing about the voice is it's persistent. So just because you didn't listen yesterday, it's still willing to talk to you today. If you enjoyed the show, make sure you share it with somebody who needs to hear it. Man, why don't you do some self-exploration over the next week till the next episode comes out? Do some self-exploration. Ask yourself what your purpose is. Ask yourself how you can improve. And more importantly, unlock your passion so that you can truly feel fulfilled, man. And it may not be work. It may be volunteer. It may be coaching kids. It may be the homeless shelter, feeding people, man. To each is to own. But if you don't find that purpose, you'll never live a full, potential, passionate life. Later.